If you have a side hustle, you have probably wondered, when is the time that it's okay for you to quit your 9-to-5? When is it safe? When can you make the jump? How big of a risk are you taking? In this video, I want to talk about some criteria that you can use to determine if you're ready to make that plunge. I left my job about 10 months ago, and I, by most measures, was not exactly ready to go in terms of all of the things that you're supposed to have lined up, but I made the plunge anyway, and I want to tell you why and how it went for me, and hopefully you'll be able to get some ideas for when it's time for you to go from a side hustle to what's called solopreneurship. That first step, once you leave your 9-to-5 and you are on your own in your online business. I'm so excited that that might be in your future, and I'm so grateful that you're watching this video. If you're new here, my name's Lane. I love to help people start and grow their online businesses and make an awesome income getting their message out. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any content on my channel. And also, I want to give you something that's going to be a great complement to the content that we're going over in this video. If you go to lanesebring.com/super simple, you can pick up my free super simple guide to your first $500 online. I really think that the first $500 that you make is game changing. If you can make $500, it sets you up to realize that you can make $1,000 and you can make $5,000, and eventually you can start to make a full-time living online. And so this guide is going to show you step by step how I did it, and it's going to give you some ideas of how you can take your first or your next steps. So lanesebring.com/super simple. All right, so for today's content, I'm using a post from Save to Invest. I did not write this post, but they give 6 criteria to think through if you're going to quit your job. And I want to walk through each one of these and just contrast it to what my experience was, and this will give us a good idea of whether or not we're ready to leave our 9-to-5. So if you're like me, I had an income on the side, but it wasn't as much as I was making at my job. I also had benefits that I was getting, and I also had retirement and investments and all these kind of things that you get with a job that I didn't necessarily have replaced, but I knew I had a dream, I knew I had a goal, I knew I had a vision, and I knew that it was time, it was my time to go after it. So you might be in that exact same situation. So I came across this post that says, do not quit your job until, and then it gives these 6 things. And I thought through, as I read through this list, that if this is you, like if you're reading through this, I just want to tell you my experience because it differs a little bit from what they say. Some of the things lined up, but some of it differs. The first thing they say is, your side income covers twice as much as your monthly expenses. In my case, I was not there. I was at half of my monthly expenses, or really I was at less than half when I first jumped out on my own. It grew very quickly, but when we first took this plunge, I was making less than half of what I was making at my job. The key though is that I had a trajectory of growth. I knew that if I could put in full-time effort, I would get exponential results versus just being able to work a few hours in the morning and maybe a few hours at night. If I could put in full-time effort, I was going to be able to make it grow. But the idea that you have to be making twice as much on the side as you're making at your job to make it work, eventually you want to get there because in a business you're going to have taxes and other expenses. But I don't think in most cases you have to be there to make the plunge. Number 2, your emergency fund can cover at least 6 months of expenses. I will say this is very important, and we did have this, and that gave us a buffer, and it made it to where I didn't have to panic. I didn't have to think about, oh my gosh, we're 2 months away from being destitute, being on the street, having to go back to work. I knew that I have a runway between what I'm currently making on the side and what I have saved. I had about a 1-year runway. And that keeps on getting extended into the future, the more money that I'm making on the side. Of course, now it's not side money, it's the money that's coming into our house. Emergency fund is very important. So if you're in this and you're making some money on the side and you still have your job and you haven't hit at least 6 months of expenses and savings, then take everything that you're making on the side and put it into savings so that by the time you're ready to make the plunge, you've got the money sitting there ready to go. Number 3, you are skilled enough to make your side hustle your main business. This is incredibly important. And by the way, you are not going to have to be as skilled as you might think you have to be. In other words, people think that there's something special about people who make it in business. People think that, oh, they must be just genius. They must be so smart. In most cases, a lot of it comes down to a little bit of luck. As a believer, I believe that it comes down to God's blessing on my life and business. And it comes down to a lot of consistency and being willing to put in the work over time and be patient, knowing that what I put in today doesn't necessarily turn into results tomorrow, but it will maybe a year from now. And so I have to be willing to put in the time, and that takes not as much skill as it does persistence and consistency and perseverance. I think a lot of people fail in online business because it's the long game. You really have to be okay with doing the work up front, knowing that later you're going to see disproportionate returns on that work, but it's not going to happen immediately. If you want immediate returns, go back to a job. You work for 2 weeks, you get paid for the 2 weeks that you just worked, but you're not building anything. For those of us who want to build something that's ours and has the potential to take off exponentially, you got to put in the work and you got to be willing to wait. Number 4, you are determined to work hard to succeed. I covered this in number 3, but that's just the way it is. You're determined to work hard to succeed. That's a must. You got to be willing. You have to have a good plan. You have to have a good trajectory, but it is not rocket science. What I would say is the most important thing is execution. You have to do the work. You have to do output. You have to put something out. I was talking to someone yesterday that I'm helping start a YouTube channel and get his online business started. And he was talking to me about cameras and mics and if it's going to be the quality that he wants. And what I told him is I said, anything that delays you taking action, ignore it and take action anyway. So if you don't have a mic that's perfect, then make the video anyway. If you don't have a camera that's amazing, then use your phone because it's as good as most things out there. Do not let any detail delay taking action, even if it means that the action you take right now is not going to look as amazing as you would want it to look. Take the action anyway. Number 5, you are ready to work 12 to 16 hours a day. No, I do not believe in this whatsoever. My business coach is a guy named Graham Cochran, and this is something that he just beat into my brain, and I'm so glad he did. The whole hustle mentality, work till your eyes bleed, work 12 to 16 hours a day. Don't do anything but work. I'm telling you, do not do that. You will burn out. You will be frustrated. You will get to a point where because the results are delayed, but you're putting in all this time, you're going to be disillusioned by the whole thing. You're going to feel like it was a big waste of time. I work 7 to 8 hours a day, about 4 to 5 days a week. That's it. And my business is growing exponentially at this point. I'm starting to see that hockey stick growth on a lot of these passive income streams that I'm building, and it's really exciting, but it's not coming from me killing myself every day working 12 to 16 hours a week, and it doesn't have to be that way for you, or 12 to 16 hours a day. 7 to 8 hours a day, more if you can. That's fine, but don't run yourself into the ground. You still need to have a life. You still need to have time for hobbies. You still need to have time for friends and family. I have 4 kids and a wife, and I want to spend time with them. I want to be able to cut out in the middle of the day and go play in the pool if it's a nice day. And 12 to 16 hour days do not allow that, and I don't want to live that way. And I don't think you have to either. 6 is don't make any excuses. To a point, I do agree with this. I think you need to be able to execute, and you need to kind of run away from the tendency to make excuses. However, there are some things that are out of your control. There are some times when you need to take a break. There are some times when you need to, there's some days when I'm tired and I take a nap in the afternoon, all right? Some would say, well, that's just, you're not committed. Well, to me, the proof is in the results. If I'm getting where I need to get in my online business, then it's okay if I allow myself some of these excuses or some of these breaks or whatever. The key is the long game. Where am I today compared to where I was 6 months ago? Where will I be 6 months from now compared to where I am today? That's what we're going for. If you're trying to leave your 9 to 5, the biggest thing is it's a math problem. How much does it actually take for you to live on? Take that and realize, what are you going to have to make in your online business to get there? I don't think that you have to have all that mapped out to take the plunge, but there ought to be a number that you're going after that when you hit that number, you've made up for everything that you were making in your job. And now everything from that point is growth. And when you're in business, you have the opportunity to create income in a way that other people who just work a normal job don't, because you can basically create money out of thin air when you're doing this right. So it's a math problem. And this is something I had to tell myself, that it's not as complicated as I'm making it. There's a certain amount of money every month that needs to be produced. How do I produce that money? How many income streams does it take? What do those income streams need to be making? How does all of that get fitted together? And boom, when you get to that number, it's almost like you can't even believe it. And you get there faster than what you thought if you put in the work. So let me know in the comments, how far away is your journey into full-time online business for you? Is it 6 months? Is it 1 year? When are you going to take the plunge? And join me in this playlist right here, where we're going to talk about more online business ideas and ways to make money online. So click right there and I'll see you in that playlist, and we'll keep this conversation going further.